Vacation is a precious thing. This year, don't just take time off. Put time in. Turn spending time with your family into spending time as a family.
Orlando, built for families, made for memories.
I think there's a myth, there's a stereotype that everybody who's homeless pushes a shopping cart, lives under I-4, is drunk or drugged, is dirty and smelly, and there are some people like that. But nowadays, particularly with the economy like it is, there are so many people that have become homeless because of economic reasons, through no fault of their own.
They have lost their housing, lost their jobs, all thanks to the Great Recession, and now they don't have anywhere else to turn.
The other thing is, I think there's a myth about there being a lot of jobs in Florida, and I think people come here without jobs.
My name is Tracy Grigsby.
John Underwood.
We're married. We live in a homeless shelter. We've been here since December the 3rd, 2012.
I think there are a lot of people that are living in motels because they can't afford housing. I think there are a lot of people that are doubled up with family or friends because they can't afford housing. And they're just the invisible homeless.
Central Florida is a service industry in construction, and we've been hardest hit by that due to the economy. So we always have been seeing an issue with unemployment and underemployment, meaning someone has a job but they don't make enough money to support themselves. We also have a huge issue with childcare, so that when that person does receive childcare through federal funding, it's great, but there was such a large waiting list that they have a job and they can't get on this waiting list. It's like 3,000 people, and by the time their turn's up, they already lost a job.
The discourse of homelessness has changed from poor people in need of assistance to human trash that needs to be swept out of the way. It's evolved from a discourse of crisis, which suggests solution, to a discourse where homelessness has just become part of the urban background.
I was homeless for 18 months back in 2008, 9, and 10. In 1984, I was married to a police officer in Sanford. It was not a good marriage, and the good old ATM cards came out. So my husband would go and take money out of the ATM and not tell me. So it looked like I was bouncing checks everywhere, and he tried to hide it from me.
The stereotype and the reality are getting more and more divergent as far as I'm concerned. I mean, families with children all across the country, not just here in Central Florida, but all across the country, are the fastest growing segment of the homeless population. People who never, ever thought they would be homeless in a million years find themselves in a homeless shelter. Anybody who ever says, oh, they chose it, these homeless people chose to live this way, they need to see the kids in our daycare. I'm sorry, but that 3-year-old did not choose to be homeless. And most of the people who are here didn't say, when I grow up, I want to be homeless.
I have a 19-year-old here, I have a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 4-year-old. I actually didn't believe that they would still keep the mentality and focus on school here because of the transition from having a home and a place to becoming homeless.
Homelessness affects a child in every area of their life, emotionally, physically, education, socially. They are 4 times more likely to have health issues, 3 times more likely to have mental health issues, and they're about 1.6 grades behind other children. Homeless children move about 2 to 3 times a year, and every time they change schools, they lose up to about 3 to 6 months of education.
More and more jurisdictions are trying to treat this as a criminal justice problem, to criminalize the survival behaviors of homeless people in the hopes that that kind of drives them away, drives them somewhere else. The problem with that approach is that it doesn't solve anything. It just displaces homeless people from one jurisdiction to some other jurisdiction.
People are getting arrested for many reasons, and sometimes they're about drugs and stealing, and they're abusing alcohol. Other times they're just trying to survive. Like I had a father who they didn't have enough food in the motel room, and then he went to the gas station, he stole a sandwich, and he ended up in jail. And he was the only breadwinner in the family, and now the father was in jail. That was, they had no funds for that. Now the mother and the children were alone. You can imagine the expense that it costs to go through the court system. For what? Because we were not providing them enough food. They couldn't have it. And he's working. He was working. He's a landscaper.
So in 2008, November, a detective in St. Louis, Missouri knocked on my door, that's where I lived, and said, "I have a warrant for your arrest." And I said, "I don't believe you." So he called, and sure enough, in the state of Florida, there is no statute of limitations. So anybody, anywhere in this country that was ever here and has a warrant, they could knock on your door at any time, and they will bring you back here, and it destroys your whole life. I mean, I had a job there and a home there, and I lost all of that. I was in jail 137 days. And here's the amount of the check, $74.13.
I would say these are, for the most part, arias of unspeakable tragedy. People victimized by forces well beyond their control. Stories of people who are so beaten down by the material conditions of their existence that self-sufficiency is no longer even a remotely possible dream for them.
There's some people that sleep and that somebody will steal all their stuff when they fall asleep. It's awful.
Some days that they feel homeless with drug addiction or drug abuse or some type of criminal activity. Everybody don't become homeless because they use drugs. You know, it's an economical situation. Like our situation, we got here, the jobs wasn't what it was supposed to be. We didn't get the promotions, we were a day late, they lost their housing. So here we are.
Never done a drug in my life. I have never drank in my life. I was the preacher's daughter.
The police don't make the laws. They have an obligation to enforce the laws. And I do think that, unfortunately, the police are the ones that are out there on the front line.
Someone falls asleep on the side of the street and the police come and pick them up and they'll go to jail and then they'll bond them out automatically. Through that course of that happening, it's $925. So how is he going to pay that? And he can't. So when he can't pay it, there's a warrant for his arrest issued. And it is a vicious circle.
And the shelters are full. They're 100% capacity. That most of the time is not an option.
The lady told us about, what was it, 2 other places, and they were trying to separate my son, my 17-year-old that was here with me. They wanted him to go to one place, him in another place, and then me and the girls. And we like, we ain't never been separated. I don't know what to do. And that's when we called the coalition, and they told us, and I just cried. Then I got in the van. I said, "Come on, they accepted us." I'm thanking them.
There was 3 meals a day. Any hygienical things that we may need, soap, toothpaste, whatever. They offer great educational programs. So they give you opportunities and they provide you with the necessary tools. You just have to be willing.
I mean, there's so many homeless people, they want to go to work. A lot of them don't have the tools to find the job. If they don't have a computer, they can't apply for a job here. I mean, you have to be able to go somewhere and have a computer, you need a phone, and you need identification. And those are the three things that when you become homeless, you don't have any of those.
When you go to apply for jobs, if people recognize the address of the shelter, it's a good chance you might not get that job. I don't know why that is, but it seems like if you're homeless, they shy away from you, And I think that's wrong. I'm thinking those should be people that has the first opportunity because they need the help the most, So it's really hard for the homeless people to actually gain full-time employment. Sure, they'll use you at the day labor, you know what I'm saying, for a couple of dollars, a few hours a day, but that is not enough to help you pull yourself up to move further, you know what I'm saying? So I really think it should be something more. It should be something more. Just because I'm homeless doesn't mean I'm not a good worker. I can't be an asset to your company.
Being homeless is very, very difficult. It's 10 times worse than an ordinary person would think. And you need everything. You don't know where your clothes are coming from, your food, and I mean, we're girls. We have to shower every day. I mean, we can't do like the guys and go for a week and not have a shower, so it's very scary and it's very difficult. It's just a nightmare when you're going through it. It's an absolute nightmare.
I believe people are becoming more aware. I think there's a long way to go. And that has to do with affordable housing, job creation. That has to do with educational opportunities, so that people can become and maintain an independent lifestyle.
In the short run, there's no end of volunteer opportunities in all of the agencies, and you can give money to the agencies that do a good job in dealing with homeless people. In the long run, homelessness, like everything else, is a political issue, and you have to get involved politically, and you have to work to elect candidates that will do the things that you think need to be done.
Someone will give me a $5 donation, say, oh, I wish I could give you more. Like that, what you just gave me was a bus ticket to get a child to school or to get a mother to a job interview. But for real change to occur, we need everyone on board. We need the $5 bus tickets, we need the food, we need policies to change, and we all have to work together to make that happen.
I think partnering with the nonprofits and the private sector is the answer, because government's not going to be able to solve the problem on its own. It's not just about money.
And the one and only one effective thing to do is to make low-income housing available.
Work every day.
Work
Pay your
hard.
time, work hard.
Have a good work attitude.
Yes.
Do as you ask, not as you think you should.
Get promotions. That's
All right.
Move on up.
I think I'm a success story, and I'm very happy about it. I'm very pleased. I knew that this was not a permanent thing for me, and people have watched my walk and what I did and all of the blessings that were put right in my face, and here I sit every day answering the phone for the city of Orlando, and I love it.
One never knows what's going to happen in life, and you need to treat everybody with respect, because you never know when you're going to end up walking in their shoes.